This is the Monroe by Oak Club, which is a small boutique manufacturer up here in Canada. It's a T-bar row platform, but the cool thing about it, and the only reason that I bought it, is that it can also be used as a belt squat platform with your Beyond Power Voltra. Okay, so first things first, this thing is not cheap. It's a big investment for just a belt squat platform. For just the platform itself, plus the Voltra dock that you need to mount the Voltras, plus the mag pins that you need to even set this thing up. I paid 1,600 bucks Canadian, shipped to my door, taxes included. In terms of the actual ordering process, it was very easy and smooth. I placed my order end of April and it got to me mid-June, which is totally reasonable and expected for a small company like this. Everything they do is built to order. It's not like things are in stock, so it takes a little bit longer. The cool thing about things being built to order with Oak Club is you can order any of their stuff in basically any cool custom color that you want, and that's one of the things they're known for, is sort of these cool finishes. I am an extremely boring human being, and I ordered it in the most boring color ever, which is textured black. Although I will say their textured black is very nice compared to most other companies. The other thing that I did is I ordered it with the narrow footplate option. So this is sort of a secret menu option from Oak Club. Out of the gate, if you just order this thing from the website, the footplates are quite wide. I think probably too wide to squat comfortably for me. But if you email them, you can order it with the footplates brought in either 3 inches or 6 inches. I ordered it with the footplates brought in 6 inches, and with that setup, I can stand basically right in the middle of the footplates and get a perfectly comfortable squat stance for me. I'm not like a super narrow squatter by any means. I think I'm a pretty average stance squatter. I'm just not a super wide powerlifting squatter. I'm 5'11". I'm pretty average in most ways. So honestly, I think for many people, the narrow footplate option is probably the way to go. Okay, in terms of delivery and assembly and stuff, it came super well packed. I think it was in 6 or 7 different boxes. Every single piece in those boxes was super well protected. I think it took me, honestly, just as long to unwrap everything as it did to put it together, basically. Assembly was generally super smooth. Only 2 things kind of tripped me up. The first one was the wheels. The wheels had these little plastic caps to protect the bearings on them, and it really was not obvious to me when I was putting it together that these plastic caps were just protective pieces that you were supposed to remove. They totally looked like they could have just been part of the wheels. So I struggled trying to get these things to fit in the feet of the unit for quite a while until I eventually realized that I had to pop these pieces of plastic off. So don't be an idiot like me, take those off out of the gate and you'll be good to go. The only other thing that slowed me down when I was assembling it is 2 of the 6 bolts are a little bit longer than the other ones, and those are meant for going on the back feet because those need to be adjustable and they have an extra nut on them compared to the other bolts, so they need to be a little bit longer. It's not super obvious when you're just looking at the bolts in the box that 2 of them are longer because it is a pretty small amount, but I had some of the bolts in the wrong place when I put it together initially, had to take it apart and move those to the right spot. No big deal, but it probably slowed me down by about 5 minutes. Overall, I think it took me like 45 minutes to put it together. I say sort of embarrassingly because of some of the places that I got tripped up, but there's not a lot of parts to it, super straightforward. Anyone can do it by themselves. One thing I will say is these bolts on the feet where you need to adjust them, do not over tighten those bolts because you'll have a very hard time adjusting the feet. I did that initially and I basically could not adjust them without using like a rubber mallet to bang these things into place. So tighten them, but not tight enough that it's gonna make it hard for you to actually adjust these feet. So in terms of actually mounting your Voltra or Voltras to the Monroe, there's 2 options. So we've got 3 docking points here, and you can either stick 1 DIY dock in the middle here and mount a single Voltra, or you can put 2 off to the sides and mount 2 Voltras if you have 2 Voltras. One thing to note is that you cannot put 3 docks on here. They're too close together. So there's no way that you could set it up to use 2 Voltras when you want and just 1 Voltra when you want, depending on the movement that you want to do. That's kind of a bummer. It would have been nice if I could have just had 3 docks on here all the time. But you kind of have to commit to which option that you want to go with and stick with it. Okay, so if you're setting this thing up with just 1 Voltra and you want to put the dock in the middle, the easy thing to do, of course, is to just mount the Voltra vertically like this, and you're good to go. You know, just rotate the screen so you can see things if you care about something like that, and you're fine. The problem with mounting it vertically is if you want to do the 1:2 ratio pulley hack to double the effective resistance, there's no good place to put a pin or something to attach this carabiner. I'll show you what I mean. You can see in the beam at the front, there is a hole that's like centered with the Voltra. And if you have like a Vex speed pin or something like I have, the natural thing to want to do is stick that in there and attach the carabiner to that. But it's a little too tight. Like you can see, like I can't get the pin in all the way. So the question naturally becomes, especially with this narrow footplate option that I have, can you mount the Voltra horizontally? And I can confirm with science, I've tested it, you can mount it horizontally. Let me show you. Okay, so check this out. You can get it in there horizontally. Just kind of put it in on an angle, twist it around quick, it locks, and there's actually plenty of clearance here. I would say there's probably a good 3/4 of an inch of clearance between the screen and the bottom of the footplate, even with this narrow footplate option. So if you set it up this way, now you can take the old Vex speed pin or anything else that you're gonna have, jam it in that back hole, and now there is plenty of room to connect the carabiner, set up your pulley, and squat 400 pounds. Now, if you've got 2 Voltras, of course, you gotta mount them vertically. There's no way for these things to fit horizontally. But if you're a truly, truly sick individual, these docks are lined up perfectly such that you could stick a speed pin back here and double the load on both Voltras for all you 800-pound belt squatters out there. Let's go. Okay, let me show you how to adjust the foot angle on this, because there are 3 different foot angles that you can use depending on what's comfortable for you or what you're trying to do. The easiest way I found to do it is to just tip the whole thing up, and then once it's tipped up, just remove the mag pin, kind of adjust this to where you want. Do the same thing on the other side. Little squeaky. Tip it back down. And there you go, now you've got a steeper footplate angle, and you can go 1 steeper than this as well. One thing I'll say is that I really wish that there was a truly flat footplate option, because you can see even in the flattest setting, you're still gonna have a pretty elevated heel if you're facing this way, or a pretty dropped heel if you're facing this way. And it'd be nice to be able to do belt squats in a way that felt exactly like a regular squat does on the flat floor. So in terms of actually getting set up to squat with this thing, what I've found works the best is to leave the weight totally unloaded to start. Get things set up with maybe like, you can either use 1 carabiner directly on the 2 cables or connect them with a single carabiner like I've got here. Get on the platform, set up your belt, and then reach down, set the weight that you want, and then hold the screen of the Voltra to engage the auto load functionality so it doesn't load the weight until you've stood up all the way and you're stable. Then of course you bang out your set of 20 at 400 pounds, but the tricky part is now unloading the weight, because you want to unload it at the top. You don't want to have to like bend down with 400 pounds loaded on your belt and try to disable the weight on the Voltra. So the easiest way to handle this is with the auto unload feature on the Voltra, which I think is sort of new. I think it was added toward the end of last year. But to set it up, you press the little circle icon at the bottom of the Voltra, you tap auto unload, and then you want to set a holding time of probably like 3 or 4 seconds. And then what will happen is once you stop moving and you sit at the top of a rep for that amount of time, it'll detect it and automatically unload the weight, and then you can safely disconnect the carabiner and get off the platform. One thing that caught me by surprise when belt squatting with the Voltra is how much harder the same weight feels than it does with free weights on a bar. I'm not totally sure what it is. I think it's the fact that the Voltra resistance is constant no matter what. There's no such thing as momentum with the Voltra. You can't just push out of the hole really, really fast and use that momentum to sort of carry you through your sticking points. It's just the same weight the whole time, no matter how hard you push. And it makes a way bigger difference than I would have expected, which to be honest makes me feel better about the fact that I'm not going above 200 on my lat pull downs. Another thing I want to talk about is moving this thing around and storing it. It's super heavy and awkward, but thankfully it does have wheels, so you can roll it around. The annoying thing though is that to get it to start rolling, you have to tip it up quite far, almost to the point that it wants to tip this way. And if you don't tip it up far enough, it gets caught on the rubber. Like right here, I can't roll it. So the usable range for rolling it is really tight before it wants to tip, which makes it sort of a pain to move around. But you know, having wheels is better than nothing. Now, in terms of storing this thing, what I've been doing is just storing it in the back of my rack like this. So it stands up pretty nicely and out of the way, which is nice. So I can store it there and still have tons of room to get in to squat and stuff like that. Another thing that's kind of neat is you can kind of use this as like a spotter platform for your bench if you store it this way. So a bench will fit in between, kind of got to be a little bit careful, but it will fit. And it's a little bit higher than a regular spotter platform, but it does work, you know? So this is something that I've done once in a while too, but honestly, most of the time I'm just storing it standing straight up. Okay, just some final thoughts on this thing after using it for a few weeks. The unit itself, extremely high quality, extremely well done. It's almost like a piece of art, honestly. It's the prettiest thing in my gym. I'll say though, the sort of surprising plot twist is I'm realizing, I think, that I hate doing belt squats. And maybe it's the movement, maybe it's doing it with the Voltra, but I was really pumped to add these to my training. I thought it would be a really fun and enjoyable movement, and I just don't like it. Instead, what I find myself doing when I want to get some extra squat volume without putting any more wear and tear on my low back is Hatfield squats with the safety squat bar. And I actually really like those. Those are really fun. And I don't know if I like them better because it's free weights with the barbell and it feels more like a squat, you know, you get some of that momentum out of the bottom and stuff like that. Or if it's the actual belt movement that I don't like, or maybe it's the foot angle. I think it's the Voltra, honestly. It just feels weird. It does not feel like I'm used to a squat feeling. I'm gonna stick with it. Maybe I'll get used to it. Maybe I'll start to enjoy it more. Again, I've only been using it for a couple weeks so far. But yeah, my first impressions when I first loaded it up was just, man, I'm not enjoying this movement. I thought it was gonna be fun, and it kind of doesn't feel good to me at all. So, if you know you love belt squats with the Voltra and you've been doing it some other way and you want like a bulletproof, awesome, heavy duty setup for doing them, highly recommend this thing. But yeah, make sure that you know that you like doing belt squats with the Voltra before you make the investment, because it is not a cheap piece of gear. I've got lots of other cool toys down here in the gym that I want to make videos about soon. So if you enjoyed this one, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you see anything behind me that you'd like me to make a video about, let me know in the comments. If you're looking for a specific piece of equipment that I used in this video, you can find links to everything down in the description. See you next time.